Well, the time has come. The polls are open and the midterm elections are on the line.
Yep, voters are choosing the men and women who will represent them in Washington and in Harrisburg and beyond. So what's at stake in our area? Well, the Lehigh Valley seat in Congress is up for grabs. In fact, the entire House, all 435 seats, is in play. 37 of the 100 U.S. Senate seats are up for grabs, including the one open seat in Pennsylvania, the former Arlen Specter seat. 37 governorships are also there for the taking, including Pennsylvania's. It's an election that will be key in shaping the agenda for the next presidential election. Right now, there are surveys that say issue one is the economy, followed by education, health care, and immigration. Voters who woke up early to get to the polls were greeted by some rather frosty conditions.
Yeah, cold one out there today, and it looks like things are going to get chilly again tonight. For more on the forecast, let's send it over to Ed.
Thanks so much. Yeah, very important. I know a lot of you still have to get out and vote, so we wanted to make sure. Coming up in just a couple minutes.
Okay, Ed, thanks very much. Adjectives used to describe today's voter turnout in the Lehigh Valley have ranged from shocking to overwhelming.
Yeah, WFMZ's Jaccii Farris is at a polling place in Allentown's 17th Ward. Jaccii, what's it look out there now?
Well, it's pretty busy. I tell you what, usually whenever you go into a polling place during the general election, it can be quiet, it can be slow. That wasn't the case today across the Lehigh Valley. We visited 3 precincts in Allentown, Easton, and Bethlehem. You mentioned we're here at the 17th precinct here in Allentown. And about 3 o'clock, they had about 40% of their registered voters had come in to cast a ballot. Over in Bethlehem, we visited wards 10 and 11 at the West End Moravian Church. Now, by about noon, they had reached almost 3 times as many as the voters as they had expected, and they actually had a bake sale there with 3 tables of food. 2 of the tables were gone. They were running out of things to sell, and they say usually that happens at the end of the day if they're lucky. Now, over at Easton, this is the big story of the day. By 1 o'clock today at Easton's 9th Ward, they had 50% of their voters come in and cast ballots. Now, as you said, this has been what poll workers are calling a record turnout for this kind of election. They say they usually don't see these kinds of numbers unless there's a presidential race involved. Now, of course, there are a lot of issues that people are talking about as being the reasons for them to come out. And, of course, we're going to tell you all about those issues coming up tonight at 6. In Allentown, Jaccii Farris, 69 News.
All right, thank you, Jaccii. We will see you next hour. And right now, we'll get a quick check on the roads.
That's right. See what the traffic's like out there. We're going to head up to Rick Edwards in the traffic center.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We're checking out the center.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Well, if you haven't voted yet, you still have some time. The polls stay open for another few hours in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. In both states, the polls close at 8 p.m., so you have just under 3 hours to go. And be sure to check out WFMZ.com for more information on these midterm elections. You can go to the Election Central Voter Information page. You'll find headlines, interactives, video, and much, much more. And also be sure to tune in to 69 News tonight at 9 o'clock for our special extended Election Central coverage. Rob and I will have a live report from across the Lehigh Valley, Berks County, Bucks County, and Montgomery County as well, plus the Philadelphia area and Pittsburgh.
And now we have to tell you about a horrifying accident this afternoon in Top job in Pennsylvania is among the positions up for grabs tonight.
That's right. Attorney General Tom Corbett and Allegheny County Executive Dan Honorado are duking it out in the race for governor.
WFMZ's Bo Koltnow is live in downtown Pittsburgh with more. Bo.
Hi, Wendy, you're right. I am live here in downtown Pittsburgh, and both Tom Corbett and Dan Honorado hope to celebrate big in the Steel City tonight. But heading into today's election, Corbett is seen as a front-runner as polls have shown him leading Honorado. Now, both candidates have been crisscrossing the state over the past several days, trying to rally the base. Now, Corbett has been stumping with U.S. Senate candidate Pat Toomey all over the state, from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to Erie to Allentown. And Honorado, he has brought out the heavy hitters in the Democratic Party, such as Michelle Obama and Bill Clinton. And as you guys were saying, voter turnout is key in any election, and typically the better the weather, the better the turnout. And guys, driving across the state today, it was sunny skies all the way. That's what's happening here in Pittsburgh. We will have complete live updates throughout the night. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, both, thanks very much. In the meantime, the two men who are hoping to replace Arlen Specter in the Senate are locked in a tight battle. Republican Pat Toomey holds a slight edge over Joe Sestak, the Democrat, in the recent polls. Toomey cast his ballot just as the polls opened this morning at the Upper Milford Township building in Lehigh County. A majority of the polls put Toomey ahead just 4 or 5 points over Sestak. Congressman Sestak cast his vote this morning in Gradyville in Delaware County.
Well, the race for the Lehigh Valley seat in Congress appears to be less of a question mark. Polls for the 15th district race show a solid double-digit lead for Republican incumbent Charlie Dent. He voted this morning at the First Presbyterian Church in Allentown. Dent's main challenger, Democrat and Bethlehem Mayor John Callahan, voted at the First Baptist Church in Bethlehem, and independent candidate Jake Town cast his ballot at the Dryland United Church of Christ in Lower Nazareth.
And there's more to come on the news at 5.
Right after the break, gunfire.
T9 News Berks Edition, live at 5:30.
So far, so good. Voters are heading to the polls in Berks County, and election officials say it's been smooth sailing throughout the day. Good evening once again. I'm Rob Vaughn.
And I'm Wendy Davis. Election officials say turnout in Berks has been steady since the polls opened 7 this morning.
We found voters eager to cast their votes in the city's Glenside section. Election officials say they've been getting a lot of calls with routine questions, but they say that's an indication the turnout will be high. We spoke to a man who's been voting in Reading for about 30 years. He's keeping that trend alive today.
I think that we all have a civic duty to be part of it. If we can't complain if we don't do our civic duty and vote.
Election officials say they expect voter turnout in Berks to be close to 40%. People were waiting in line to cast their votes this morning here in Bern Township. Voters will decide which party takes control of the State House of Representatives. Democrats currently have a 5-seat majority. Arlen Specter's U.S. Senate seat is up for grabs. As you know, the 4 congressmen who cover parts of Berks County are seeking re-election, and the new governor will be chosen today. Governor Rendell cannot seek a 3rd term. No doubt there is a lot at stake this election day.
Oh, yes, and we don't know the winners, of course, until later tonight, but one political analyst says one party may win big.
WFMZ's Pam Cunningham is live at a polling place in Northeast Reading with that story. Pam?
Well, in 1994, the Republicans won the midterm elections, and according to Professor Tim Blessing of Alvernia University, today is setting up to repeat history.
If you don't have a repeat of 1994, the Republicans have done something wrong.
Voters in Reading are coming out to the polls to have their voice heard.
Why I wanted to vote, the mess the country's in, get a start down here.
Paul Fett is a Republican and says he votes every election. And Professor Blessing says his rhetoric matches what many Republicans are feeling.
If there's the slightest bit of a Republican wave there, Corbett should win. I mean, Honorado has been coming from behind, and he has just barely made it up. So if there is a Republican wave, even a small one, the Republican will go in.
But he adds Pennsylvanians are known for splitting their ticket and not voting the party straight down the line.
If Sestak can actually turn out the Democratic vote, he can make it close and he can make it interesting all evening. But if Philadelphia does not turn out, he can't win.
But he adds, even though things look to be favoring the Republicans, nothing matters until all the votes are counted.
You don't have a wave until it actually occurs, for a couple reasons. The first of those is that the Democrats have gotten really good at the ground game. So they may be able to turn out enough voters to keep it close.
Now here at the Reading Magnet School of the Performing Arts, election workers tell me that there has been a steady stream of voters all day long, but there have been no lines. Reporting live in Reading, Pam Cunningham, 69 News.
All right, thanks, Pam. Well, the candidates have been asking for your vote, and today they cast their own. Joe Sestak, the Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate, voted early this morning in Gradyville, Montgomery County. It's about 15 miles south of King of Prussia. His opponent, Republican Pat Toomey, had to wait about 20 minutes in Zionsville, Lehigh County, before voting with his 9-year-old son. They're running for the seat that is currently held by Senator Arlen Specter. And the candidates for the 6th Congressional District also cast their votes today. Democrat Manon Trivedi cast his vote at the Geigertown Grange in Robson Township this morning. His opponent, incumbent Republican Jim Gerlach, waited until the afternoon to do his voting. He also made some last-minute campaign stops today, including this one in Exeter Township. The district covers parts of Berks, Montgomery, and Chester counties.
For more on the election, go to the Election Central section of our website, WFMZ.com. You'll see a link at the top of the page. It's filled with information about the candidates, the issues, and even a county-by-county breakdown of the races. And remember, when the polls close, join us for Election Central on the air tonight at 9 o'clock. We'll have the latest results as they come in, reports from campaign headquarters across the state. That's Election Central on WFMZ TV starting at 9.
Well, Latinos across Reading say they refuse to let a few signs keep them from voting.
The message urged voters to stay away from the polls today. Dwayne Parker is live on the 69 News Sky Deck with the details. Dwayne.
Good evening, Rob and Wendy. It turns out that the man putting up signs urging Latinos not to vote is, in fact, Latino himself. And it didn't take determined Latino voters long to mobilize. Signs that read Latino no vote, which in English means Latino don't vote, were not taken lightly by Latino campaign organizers. Angel Figueroa, who's heading up Dan Honorado's headquarters on 5th and Washington Streets in Reading, ripped the signs to pieces.
In essence, they're trying to rip us away from our freedoms and our liberties. So I think it's important to hit the message by saying, hey, you know, it's one thing to say Latinos don't vote. It's another thing to really understand that what you're trying to do is tell Latinos we don't matter.
It turns out that the person displaying the signs was, in fact, Latino. William Pagan posted the signs on his truck and on the front of his house on Front Street, as well as on Schuylkill Avenue. The police, along with the head of the Democratic Party, Tom Herman, spoke to Pagan. Later, 69 News also searched for answers. Do you think that this is the most intelligent way to make your point known?
No, it's not, but it's a way to somebody to listen, somebody to care about what we need to say.
But don't you think it's smarter to vote first and then complain later?
Well, we did that before, and nobody cared.
Pagan said it was never his intention to intimidate voters. He said he was just expressing frustration over why government didn't seem to be paying attention to his community.
I didn't do it unintentionally. I just put that sign up, and that's all.
Debbie Oliveri with the Berks County Board of Elections explained the consequences others may face if they attempt similar actions.
The Board of Elections would hear it, and depending upon what's going on with them, could refer them to the district attorney's office.
Before our cameras left William Pagan's home, he decided he'd protested enough and took down his signs. Now, a formal complaint has not been filed, but the Berks County Board of Elections says they are aware of the situation. Wendy.
All right, Dwayne Parker, thank you so much. Well, drilling wasn't working.
Live at 6.
Good evening once again. I'm Rob Vaughn.
And I'm Wendy Davis. Decision Day 2010 is here, and voters all across the region and around the country are heading to the polls in what could be a very telling midterm election.
There's a lot at stake this year. Not only are 37 governorships up for grabs, including the one here in Pennsylvania, but Democrats are trying to keep control of Congress. All 435 House seats are contested, including districts in our area like the 15th, the 8th, and the 6th. In the U.S. Senate, 37 seats are in play. The polls opened early this morning, and many voters say they are eager to have their say today. We've got live team coverage tonight. Pam Cunningham is in Northeast Reading with more on what's at stake.
But first, we're going to start with Jaccii Farris. She's at a polling station in Allentown with a look at the issues that prompted people to get out and vote. Jaccii.
Well, Wendy and Rob, we visited precincts in Allentown, Easton, and Bethlehem, where workers were reporting very dramatic turnouts, and the voters we spoke to say they came to the polls for a specific reason.
Basically in support of the community. I mean, if we don't vote, we're just throwing it away.
While some came to fulfill their civic duty, other voters around the Lehigh Valley hit the polls with an agenda. At Bethlehem's 10th and 11th Ward, 3 times as many voters showed up by noon than expected.
Mainly because of Obamacare, for one, and the tax and trade that's coming up. This is not good for the country. Trying to sort of balance out things in Congress. Needs to be done.
Everything, health care, unemployment, you know, they haven't given the president a time enough to do what needs to be done.
At Easton's 9th Ward, voter totals hit the 50% mark by midday.
I want a Democrat governor in there.
Over at Allentown's 17th Ward, turnout hit the 40% mark by 3 p.m. Workers at Congregation Sons of Israel say they had their hands full with numbers usually only seen during a presidential election. Poll workers say it's clear issues are driving the turnout.
It's definitely the economy. I'm a grandmother of 11 grandkids, and I'm concerned for my grandchildren and the debt that has been laid on their backs that they will have to pay.
Now, the poll workers we spoke to say they expect a spike in voter turnout one last time about this time as people are getting off work and heading to the polls to make sure they get their ballots cast before the polls close. Live in Allentown, Jaccii Farris, 69 News.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right, we're going to continue our election coverage now with Pam Cunningham. She is in Reading, and more on what was being predicted out there. Pam.
Well, outside this polling station, both parties are doing what they can to get their candidates in office. Every voter at this polling station is met by 4 volunteers, 2 from each party. And on Election Day, tensions can be high.
You can disagree without being disagreeable. So we've actually had a very pleasant day, trying to explain to each other why without being hostile.
But that hasn't been the rhetoric people have seen from the TV ads. The Democrats have been on the defensive over voters' frustration with the current administration.
The Democratic base is not that thrilled right now, and the Republican base is really charged.
Republican strategists are hoping the base will help return the GOP to the top of the class in Congress, which happened in 1994 under President Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton detested the Republicans, and the Republicans, Newt Gingrich detested Bill Clinton. I mean, he shut down the government. But you know what? They still managed to act as adults and make the compromises they needed.
I'm hoping that we don't have to go that route, and I think that the Republican prediction is a little overblown. At least I hope so. But no matter what the outcome, yes, there's always hope that we can work together.
It is time, because otherwise there's no way to go but up. That's the way I look at it.
Now, volunteers tell me that they plan on being outside in the parking lot until about 8 o'clock when the polls close. Reporting live in Reading, Pam Cunningham, 69 News.
Thanks, Pam. All right, let's get a closer look at the race for governor in Pennsylvania now. The showdown will put someone new in the governor's mansion for the first time in 8 years. WFMZ's Bo Koltnow is live in downtown Pittsburgh with more on that for us. Bo.
Wendy, no matter who wins tonight, the Steel City will have a tie to Harrisburg. Dan Honorato, he's the Allegheny County executive. Tom Corbett, he's from Pittsburgh, too. Both men are in the Steel City tonight, and both are hoping to deliver huge victories to their party. After months of speculation, it all ends or begins, depending on how you look at it, tonight. Heading into Election Day, polls have Pennsylvania Attorney General Tom Corbett leading Democrat Dan Honorato, the Allegheny County executive. Both men voted at a Pittsburgh suburb earlier this morning. Leading up to today's vote was an exhausting journey for both candidates. The two have been crisscrossing the state for months. Corbett hoping to ride the tide of what many pollsters say could be a Republican wave at the polls around the country. Honorato hopes that by using political heavy hitters such as Michelle Obama and former President Bill Clinton can stem that Republican tide and keep the governor's mansion in blue for at least another 4 years. And again, the polls close in just under 2 hours from now. And throughout the night, I will have live updates from the Corbett campaign. Live here in Pittsburgh, Bo Koltnow, 69 News.
Thank you, Bo. Another big race in Pennsylvania is, of course, the state's open U.S. Senate seat. Recent polls have shown Republican Pat Toomey and Democrat Joe Sestak in a tight race. Toomey was out voting in Upper Milford Township in Lehigh County this morning. And Sestak was meeting and greeting people after casting his ballot in Delaware County. Tonight could be a big night for the Tea Party movement. Out in Nevada, Democratic Majority Leader Harry Reid is fighting to keep his Senate seat against Tea Party-backed Sharon Angle. Another Tea Party favorite is Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. She's battling Democrat Chris Coons for the Senate seat once held by Vice President Joe Biden.
A battle over absentee ballots in Bucks County is leading to more finger-pointing, while Democratic Congressman Patrick Murphy and his Republican rival Mike Fitzpatrick cast their votes today. Murphy says Democratic voters have been turned away at the polls because they already filled out absentee ballots. And his camp is accusing Fitzpatrick's people of disenfranchising Democratic voters. Fitzpatrick's camp released a statement saying that Fitzpatrick has encouraged every registered voter to exercise the right and responsibility to vote today. The county's Board of Elections won't look into the validity of 8,000 absentee ballots until tomorrow, so many candidates in Bucks County will go to bed tonight unsure of whether they've won or lost. Well, the fate of the Graysdale nursing home in Northampton County is also in the spotlight this election day. Members of the group, the Graysdale Coalition, were handing out petitions at several polling places, including one here in Bethlehem. The group needs 20,000 signatures in order to get the issue of whether to sell Graysdale on the May ballot. It wants the home to remain in county hands, but officials say the county cannot afford to keep it.
The polls will stay open till 8 o'clock tonight in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. After they close, do tune to 69 News Election Central. Here's your invitation to join us tonight, starting at 9 o'clock. We'll have up-to-the-minute results. We'll also have live reports from across the region and from the Philadelphia area and from Pittsburgh. That's Election Central, 9 o'clock tonight here on WFMZ TV.